Hello and welcome to YHELPtalk to Taylor. Today we are with Mandy Ingber, New York Times best-selling author and creator and owner of Yogalosophy, a celebrity fitness and wellness expert discussing to us how to find your inner peace.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us about your organization and yourself.
Well, a little bit about myself is that I have a yoga health and wellness brand called Yogalosophy that I developed through my years of teaching. I started off when I was teaching. I started off as an indoor cycling instructor, and then that evolved into teaching yoga and health and wellness. And so I have a downloadable workout called Yogalosophy, which is a hybrid of yoga plus toning exercises. My essential philosophy on fitness is that you already have a perfect body and basically loving your body into shape. So that's been my journey. And when I was younger, I actually was an actress. I started acting when I was professionally when I was 14 years old. So so I feel really connected to being a teenager, actually, and and I've just I'm still like I'm a young person in an old person's body, so I feel like I can relate.
What inspired you to do your work?
Well, I actually had like I was a very emotional child, and I had a lot of complicated relationships in my home. My father was incredible, but he also had a temper, and so I think I was always trying to understand my own large emotions and also try to understand, my family and other people. So I basically, the way that I did that is that I started acting when I was like 13 years old, and it gave me a really great place to express my emotions. That was like a safe place to do it. And that sort of propelled me into the world. And then funnily enough, that eventually led me to being a teacher, which was also about channeling my large emotions through exercise and body movement, and also telling my story through that. So that's what led me to my journey. And basically, like how I look at it is that I took I had an eating disorder too, like as a child. That was a way that I was also trying to manage my large emotions. And what I started to recognize as I got to know myself better, as I grew, is that that's all I was trying to do, is manage my large emotions. And that when I took what was inside of me and actually used that to either express out or to serve others and lead others, that what I had been turning against myself, that same energy, when I turned it out into the world, actually was very powerful. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's my journey.
What was your experience as a teen?
Well, like I said, I was a very deep, emotional child from a volatile home, and I was lucky because even though I had this very complicated relationship with my dad, who had a really bad temper, and he was kind of emotionally abusive, he also gave me a lot of really good tools. So even though it was hard, I also feel like I would butt up against my dad, and I feel like even though I did that, I still was accepted doing that. But it did develop into an eating disorder, like I said earlier, and there was just a lot going on underneath the surface. And so I think all of that tension and energy actually propelled me out into the world, and that's why I think I started working so young. I started working when I was 15.
What steps did you take to embrace who you are?
I think life has a way of presenting us with situations. And, they say that thing of, you aren't what happens to you, but you are the way that you respond to what happens to you. So I think that when circumstances happen and you get to know yourself better through them. And I was very lucky because I went to a school called MOBOC. It was a mobile school for experiential learning. And we would have field trips all around the city and learn about the city, and we'd be little journalists and find things out. And then we would have lunches in the different parks around the city, academics in the different libraries. And we actually were empowered because we would, first of all, the entire student body created the rules for the school. So it was a small school. There were like 25 to 30 kids when I first started, but we were empowered in that way. And also at the beginning of the week, you would make a contract that you would check with your teacher, and basically you would just talk about what your agreements were. And so that taught me about accountability and like leadership and time management, and also just living up to my commitments, and that my commitments were for me. So yeah, I had a lot of support. My teachers actually really supported us, and we had things called feeling sessions where we would talk about how we felt, and we learned how to communicate. They call it now nonviolent communication, but we learned how to say how we feel in an I message, like, when you did this, this is how I felt, rather than you did this to me. So we learned those tools. And I think that really helped me to develop my own voice. But, it only goes so far. I also had, obviously, I had some success also when I was younger. And that's really great to have people accept you and love you. But the truth is that it's an inside job. So no matter how well I did, no matter what kind of grades I got, no matter how many jobs I got, acting jobs, I would feel internally there might be something wrong with me, or that I was different from other people. I had that feeling because I was so sensitive. So I think my acceptance has really just taken time and a lot of support, I think that, and I've learned some tools along the way. That's sort of, the foundation for what made me who I am as an adult and as a teacher too.
Do you think that your mental health is just as important as your physical health?
Yes, of course. It's even more than just mental and physical, right? It's also emotional health, right? So the mind and the body are obviously totally connected. What I usually say is that the mind and the body are connected through the emotional self. So that it's that's the sort of the gateway, the language between the mind and the body is the emotions, right? So it's important to listen to our emotions, to feel them, and to then do something with them. It can work both ways. It can work by calming the mind, that can calm the emotions and then calm the physical body. But it can also work the other way, which is if you're feeling emotional and you need to get it out, doing something sometimes will clear your mind, right? So they all go together. Yeah.
Why is finding your inner peace so important?
Well, I think the main reason that it's important to find your own inner peace is because the world is never going to stop so that we can, there's always been war, in the background, there's turmoil all over the place all the time. And, whenever we expect if we are dependent on the outside in order to feel peaceful on the inside, we're going to be waiting for a long time. So it's it's kind of like going to sleep, right? It's at a certain point you have to rest. You have to rest your body, and you're not going to be more productive if you keep working through the sleep time. And I think it's the same thing. We have to find that place of peace, within ourselves, and then rejoin, that's a way of replenishing yourself. So, mainly it's just connecting within yourself to that place of I'm okay, finding your own joy internally and finding ways to produce that feeling that don't have anything to do with other people, your grades, the world, all these outside circumstances.
Do you have any strategies that teens can use to find their inner peace?
Yeah. I actually made a little list here. Well, like I said earlier, one of the best ways to find peace is if you have pent up energy, you get it out of you. So physical exercise and anything, like even just like shaking or like hitting a pillow or screaming or, running around the block, or exercise or dance, like sports. I mean, any physical exertion goes a long way. I don't know. Have you ever had that experience where you're like, you just move your body and you get out of your body and just feel relaxed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that. Nature, cultivating a relationship with nature. So maybe it's going for a hike, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's growing food, or camping, or just being in nature. That nature has a rhythm that is very peaceful, that's very natural. We are nature. So I think it's like when you get into that rhythm and vibration and feeling, being creative. So like writing, making a play, choreographing a dance, singing, any version of creativity and creative expression, making something, making food, creativity, imagination, those are other ways. What I said earlier about connecting with others, like finding a circle of, maybe it's friends, maybe it's people you don't know, but finding support where you are allowed to express yourself in a way that is heard but not fixed. Like sometimes we just need to feel feeling and we just need somebody to like listen to us. So finding places where you can be the listener and also where you are the expressor. Counting your blessings. So like, I don't know if you ever think about this or have heard about like a gratitude list, but that goes a long way. So focusing your attention on things in your life that are working, things that you're grateful for, even if it's just super simple, like I'm grateful that I, have two arms, I'm grateful that I can breathe. I'm grateful that I have a friend. I'm grateful that my parents are still alive, whatever that is. But also like making lists of things that you're good at, like focusing on the things that you do well. Like, you're obviously, you have like a sort of like a lot of charisma. So you're doing something where you can express that. And that's also, I don't know if you find it helpful, but that's super helpful. Yeah. And then the last thing that I thought was, finding a mentor and asking for help, like asking someone you trust how they dealt with something that you might be going through. Doesn't mean that they have the answer, but sometimes when we ask other people how they do things, we get ideas about how we could do it differently, or at least we see that there are lots of options of how we can handle situations.
Do you think that self-love and inner peace are connected?
I do. I mean, I think that, look, I mean, self-love is, for me, it's an ongoing experiment, but I think like accepting myself as I am, not trying to make myself different, like those are like constant practices for me.
Do you think that teens should learn to set boundaries to protect their peace?
Absolutely. I think we all should. But so it's like, how do we do that, right? Someone once shared with me, like boundaries, it's like, I can't, like if I say, don't do that, or I don't, like demanding other people to be a certain way, that's not really the answer, the solution, because they might not respect that. So like I have to be the one that respects my own boundaries. So if I'm hanging out with like a group that's, like maybe bullying me or talking behind my back, something like that, right? Which can feel that can be really intense when you're with a group of friends and that happens. It's not on them to stop. It's really on me to go hang out with other people, like maybe I don't hang out with those friends, or you could also create a little space, like if somebody's like critical of you, you could always say, oh, well, maybe that's true. I have to think about it, and then kind of step away from a situation. Obviously, if you're in a dangerous situation, you have to physically remove yourself. And I know that that's a lot harder when you're a teen. And as I said, I grew up, in a household where there was violence. So I know that that's a very real thing. And verbal abuse, like I was verbally abused when I was a kid. My dad name called me, and even though I love my dad and I know that he loves me, that really is difficult for me. And it's, it really does take a bite out of your self-esteem when you take that stuff in. So it's really learning how to fortify yourself with the things that you do that give you self-esteem. And that's different things for different people. For me at that time, it was acting, it was a lot of things, but I think finding things that make you feel good is the way to go.
Well, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience before we go?
Well, the main thing I want to say is that, it gets better. A lot of people think that it's really easy being a kid and that, but it's being a kid is very challenging. And oftentimes adults minimize the things that kids go through. So I just want to say it gets better and better. It gets a little harder and then it gets a lot better, So hang in there is number one. And then if you want to find me somewhere, you can find me. I'm on Twitter at Ms. Mandy Ingber. I'm on Facebook. You guys probably don't even do Twitter and Facebook, but I'm on Facebook at Mandy Ingber's Yogalosophy. I'm on Instagram as Mandy Ingber. And then I have 2 books. My first book was a New York Times bestseller called Yogalosophy, 28 Days to the Ultimate Mind-Body Makeover. And it's a 28-day fitness book meets a creativity book. So it's actually really fun. I recommend it. And then Yogalosophy for Inner Strength is my heart opener book, and that also that was a wonderful book to work on, and you can find that. I have my downloadable workout called Yogalosophy, and you can reach that on either my website, which is Mandy Ingber, MandyIngber.com, and I guess that's it.
Well, thank you all for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.